Welcome, everyone. This is Scott Strode, Post Play Media and Global Blue Chips Global, and we're here again for another podcast and a special guest that's going to kick off our series of in-state basketball players that are currently playing in college. None other than Quincy Pittsnogle. And Mr. Pittsnogle, how are you today? And thank you again for stopping in and coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well and kind of winding down a busy, busy first part of the summer, but we're rolling right into, right into the next live period with events and those types of things. But we are, as again, I said at the top of the intro there, trying to get in, trying to get in all of the current players from West Virginia that are on college rosters and get everybody interviewed and talk about their journeys and everything and you and as I mentioned beforehand, you and Eli Allen were the first two guys that popped in my mind, and because I got to know you both just a little bit, and always enjoyed being around you, and obviously always enjoyed watching you guys play. So, and like I said, he's on right after you to record. So, I, I'm happy you're here. I'm extremely happy where you're heading this fall, and so let's start talking about that and tell me a little bit about how your basketball journey began when you were a kid, um, and what direction that led you into middle school and high school.
So growing up, I always played basketball. Always been around it. My dad played, obviously. When I was growing up, went to a lot of his games. Went around the environment. The environment really kind of brought me in. So I definitely knew when I was growing, like newborn. First picture was me on a basketball. So like basketball's always been in the picture, just no matter how far I was willing to go with it.
Right, right. Um, what's your favorite memory, I guess, of when you're a kid? Favorite basketball memory, whether it's being at a game or playing in a game or watching a game. Maybe it was watching your dad's highlights. What's your fondest memory of, maybe of things before middle school age that you can think of that in terms of basketball.
Oh, definitely have to be people talking about my dad, like, oh, your dad was this big legend, this, that. And, like, it always made me feel good because, like, that's my dad. Like,
Sure.
I, I'm related to him, and he's this big known guy. That's what kind of made me like, most proud, like, as a son. Like, sporting event wise, I remember when he was, I have this fond memory when he was, I believe, in Albuquerque or Austin. It was me watching him come out of the smoke when his name got announced.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Um, and he's. I don't know if people in West Virginia understand. I know a lot of people in West Virginia obviously know who he is and remember him. I don't think they understand how big of an impact he had on the popularity of March Madness, across the whole country. He's still a brand name, a household name across people all over the country when you start talking March Madness, and every March we start seeing those highlights pop
Every time, never
on
fails.
social media, which that's got to give you some chills, and every time you see that and make you feel pretty warm and fuzzy inside, I would imagine. But yeah, that's good stuff, and absolutely, I'm a fan of his, and always will be because of all the fun moments that he provided me when I was when I was a fan, of course, and still am. But so let's talk a little bit about when you started come up through middle school, high school ages, and how that development physically and basketball wise, where that started, where all the things that you kind of hit, especially being a tall kid, the expectations are really sometimes really unreasonable, from other people. What kind of things did you kind of have to face, coming up through that kind of shaped, what you wanted to be and the type of player you wanted to be? What do you think those things were?
Yeah, oh, yeah. So growing up, I wasn't always the tallest kid. Uh, I was a big late bloomer, so I was always taller end, but I was never like the tallest, the biggest. Growing up, I was always wanted to shoot. Like growing up, I watched my dad shoot threes. Like I want to be like him. I wanted to shoot, but it wasn't until like my sophomore, junior years when I truly realized, okay, it takes. When I like my freshman year is when I started to realize it takes a lot more than just coming to practice, doing what you do at practice, and then that's it. There's stuff outside just practice that you have to take care of
Right.
in order to be as good as you want to be.
Yeah.
But definitely during middle school is when I knew like the role I wanted to play. So
Yeah. So you knew you wanted to be that stretch four guy or, or
yeah,
stretch five
I
guy,
knew I
maybe.
wanted. You know what position I played? I knew I wanted to play basketball. I knew I wanted to shoot. I knew I wanted to be like this big involvement on the inside and outside.
Sure, sure, and that's a pretty young age to realize that. But the sooner you realize it, the more work you can put into becoming that type of player. So your high school coach, very well known, very well respected. Maybe I've heard several times over the years people talk about him and say he's the best coach in West Virginia. Um, but I think it's safe to say if you watch those games, he's probably not everybody's cup of tea, as far as a coach, and he holds a lot of people accountable, very fundamental, very, you know, I don't want to say the wrong thing here, but, he doesn't, I'm trying to think of the right word here, but he, he has a very set way, that he wants things done. He has a very set way. He wants to run offense. Talk a little bit about playing on that, in that high school program. At the same time, how those things, how his style of coaching really helped you grow as a person, grow as a player.
Oh yeah, his coaching definitely intense. It's not like many other people in our area. A lot more people are soft spoken. If you come to a game, you'll realize the type of coach he is. That's not how who he always is. He's the most caring guy I've probably met in all of like basketball when it comes to like off the court, on top of on the court. He definitely played a big impact in my career, knowing like hold myself to a higher standard, accountability. He, on the court and off the court, he taught me yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, all the right things to keep me going when it comes to on top of basketball, like in the business world. It, those he set me up for that as well. Um, but his discipline with me and like pushing me, I'll forever be grateful for.
Yeah, discipline was the word I was trying to I was trying to think of when I was thinking
Yeah,
about how he runs the program, how he runs it. It's very direct, it's very disciplined, and it does maybe there are times that it doesn't produce the best basketball results, but it will produce the best basketball players. It will produce the best adults. Guys that can move on to the next level, whether it be basketball or college in general, and they can thrive because they've been held to a higher standard, and I'm sure you can attest to
correct.
that.
Yes, 100%.
So we're going through high school, we're cruising through, you're growing to 6'8", 6'9" ish. That's when your and I's paths crossed. You come over and played some with us in the fall league, and I got to know you. And I'll say this, and I've told people this, is you're one of the most entertaining guys we've had in the 2 years that we've did that, and that's on the court and off the court. I always enjoyed being on the bench there with you because you You're just funny, and I don't know why I thought that, but you were just funny with some of your comments and stuff. Never negative, but just funny. So I always enjoyed that. You know, at what point did you know that college was going to be a reality, playing at that next level? Was there a time in high school when that you thought, hey, this is probably going to happen? Was it a conversation with your dad? Was it a conversation with a coach, a college coach? When was it that you knew that was probably going to happen for you?
So it was about my sophomore year. I had a little bit of self doubt. I'll be honest. So I had like a sit down conversation with my dad, and I just bluntly asked him like, do you see me? Do you think I can go to this next level? And he told me I could, but it'd be certain routes, some stuff I have to do more of. So like that's kind of the turning point of my seriousness from being a high school player to being a future college player. It's just a sit down conversation I had just on like my future and like where he sees it going.
Yeah. So, what were some of the things that he interjected there and said? This is maybe what was the biggest thing that he said? Hey, this is something you've really, really got to concentrate on. Was it something basketball related, or was it something just physically that you needed to work on, or what was there one big thing that he really emphasized with you?
The main thing that I remember would be moving on from like if you have a bad play, move on. Don't dwindle on anything. Move on next play. Like you're going to make a bad shot. You're going to take bad shots. You're going to do the like, stuff that you regret. Don't dwindle on it. Make up for it the next play on defense or offense, especially defense. Like if you have a bad play, don't just dwindle on defense and let the other guy score. Take pride in what you do. Make it seem that you're actually it frustrates you and make it stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's especially to be able to move on to the next play. That's especially key for guys that are shooters.
Right.
So I'm sure he understood that at some point in his high school or college career, where you know you just can't dwell on that a miss or a bad shot. It's not if you're going to be great at it. It's you just have to immediately move on to the next play. So that's great advice for sure. And maybe he had that in mind when he had that talk with you, because he thought shooting was going to be a big part of your game. So you get wound down to the end of your high school career, and I'm sure, or I know you had some college interest, from some places, and I had. It seemed like several conversations with college coaches about you, and I could never nail down why a lot of them wouldn't just take that leap of faith and get you on campus and spend a year trying to develop you to get you where they needed you to be. But what that being said, what led you to the decision that hey, we've got to put, I need an extra year to develop. I mean, obviously, physically, you needed it, obviously, to grow a little bit, let your body catch up, especially when you grow so fast. I've experienced that myself. But, what led to the decision? And also, the second part of that, what led to the decision to go to 212 Academy? In Florida. So, how did that all go for you?
So at the end of probably midway to my senior year, we were going through like the options I had. It was JUCO, go straight to college, or post grad. At the time, JUCO still costed years. College, I don't think I was physically ready for. So post grad was the best option for me when it came to long term success more than short term. The physicality was obviously the main part, which pushed me that way. But also the coach that I was going to, John Mahoney, knew who I was, knew how I played. I knew how he played. it was more of just a better fit system
Yeah.
when it comes to the post grad route. Um, the reason I chose it, I'll answer kind of answer just second question right there. Um, coached my dad when he was in college, his senior year. Uh, I I knew of him. I didn't know much about him until we started talking to him when it comes to me potentially playing for him. He uh, owns his own post grad team in Sarasota, Florida. It's very small area. Tough conference, tough people we play against. Uh, I just knew once I went down there, it'd be a whole new area change.
Yeah.
It definitely benefit me in the long run when it comes to competition wise. You can't get much hard competition in Florida. So
Right. Right. So, talk about, physically, what, kind of the things that you had to do um, to get better, to get your body right, to be able to apply that on the floor. What kind of things did they, obviously lifting weights, but, you know, what was that process like trying to get your body in shape, not in shape, but strong enough, big enough to be able to sustain yourself at that, at that prep level, at that post grad level.
oh yeah, so not only did we lift weights, like the dietary plan we had, I I wasn't always the biggest fan, but I loved it. It helped me so much more than I expected it to. That and our willingness, like everybody bought in. There wasn't a single person who wasn't bought in to getting each other better, pushing each other to the limits, making sure we all succeed, not just each other, like just ourselves. Our defense was our main thing that I needed to work on personally, and I had other people willing to help me with and give me techniques, give me small things that would help me in the long run that I still use to this day.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And that that has turned into one of the, I think, one of the premier academies in this part of the country. East of the Mississippi. I'll say that because they've had a nice run of success, and sounds like to me things are run very well, and obviously on the up and up. So there's the that post grad stuff. The waters are so muddy out there with a lot of bad programs as well. So it's nice to hear
Right,
a good success
100%.
story, a really good success story from somebody that's experienced it and had obviously it's helped immensely. So you know coming off of that, so we get through there. Let's talk about that transition into your first year of actual being on a college campus. Lees McRae, you sign with out of 212. Talk about that experience, being there, and how that, how that experience at 212 helped that transition, and was kind of your stepping stone. But what were some of the, what were some of the challenges when you got to Lees McRae that you maybe you weren't prepared for, but maybe some of the other things that you were prepared for because you did post grad a year.
So the main thing that I wasn't prepared for was the elevation change. I knew going into it would be like it's a big difference going from zero to a couple hundred in West Virginia to 3,600, I believe it is, or close to 4,000.
Wow.
Um, it's definitely a big jump. That's the main thing I wasn't ready for. But 212 helped me when it comes to testing my limits and then going more than that. They helped me with discipline on top of like everything, team wise, personality wise, people who I hung out with, people I worked out with. So like my limits were pushed in 212 to a point where I knew the standard at that point
Right.
to take with me to Leeds McCray.
Good deal. So you had a good. I know we've talked, and you had a good experience there, but you kind of at some point you realized probably wasn't going to be your home forever. Um, talk about what maybe led you to that decision, and from there, you hop in the portal, and how does that process look? Um, you know, how do you even come to that decision that you want to leave? Leaves McRae.
So towards the end of the year, I had um, a couple of thoughts of my own on like the way they play, the play style that they had going that year. I wasn't, I don't fit in the best. You won't get the best out of me unless I play a certain way, which
Right.
is what I'm not used to. Um, that was the main reason that I feel like I could benefit from the portal. Uh, and then in the year meetings, it was a mutual decision to think it'd be best beneficial for both of us if we split ways. No
Gotcha.
bad blood. I still talk to I message the coach every now and then. My buddies from there, I still talk to. I'm gonna keep up with them next year. All those
Okay.
guys down there, I have nothing but respect for. Hope they have the best endeavors.
Yeah, that's and obviously you handled it pretty professionally, and you did things the right way there, and that always pays dividends in the end. Um, so you make the decision, and so now you go officially in the portal. How do you approach that? Is it, do you have a group of schools that you really wanted to target, that you wanted to be, that you wanted a chance to play at? Or is it, put your name out there, you're in the portal, put your name out there and wait and see what comes to you? How do you approach that?
So the first thing I did was went to in the portal. I got a couple of schools that I knew I would have interest in, that I knew the play style. I knew they would run to something I enjoy being a part of. Um, when making my list, going to North Carolina opened my eyes to not just the Mountain East, the uh, PSAC, the Sun Belt, and the Florida. Those were the main conferences I knew of because that's what around the most. But once I had to
Right.
leave McCray, I knew all the in between, the Carolina Conference, the regular SAC, the Peach Belt. So now that I know all the conferences in the whole East Side mostly, that kind of benefited me to okay. There's more than just these three conferences that I know I can talk to that know who I am.
Right.
That really helped me. And once I made my list, I went and emailed all of them. Um, obviously, I'm not gonna get an email back from everybody because that's just too
Right.
unrealistic in my opinion. Um, but luckily, I got a couple of schools I did benefit me that way, and we moved on from those steps.
Yeah, so I love that. I love that you were proactive in that process. I'm a big proponent of all kids at any stage in their recruiting is even if it's a obviously even if it's a transfer situation, that they should be proactive. They should reach out to the people that they're interested in first, and and go from there. So um, you know that does two things for you. One, it gets the process started. Number two, I think it gives guys a more chance to be a better fit, on campuses. And we talked about that earlier. That it, being able to pick where you want to go, pick your maybe your destination, maybe to be able to have a group of those rather than sitting back and waiting, and maybe something of quote unquote higher status comes along and you
Yeah,
just jump in bed with it, and it could be the wrong thing. So I know your dad probably was a big part of with his high basketball IQ and knowledge, be able to nail down, hey, these are the schools that have systems that you would fit into really really well, and I think the place that you settled on to sign with is in fact that. So let's talk about the decision to sign with Wheeling and Coach Richardson, and how the process went to reach that point.
So my dad's more like a father agent. He's I've been through the system, been through recruiting, know what to and what not to look for. So he sees things more than I do. He thinks of the questions that I've never even would zero chance I would have thought of to ask. So I usually go through everything through him. Wheeling was probably my favorite place I visited. Um, Although a couple of schools made it hard to pick at the end of the day, but Wheeling was just like the home I the home that I needed and the
Yeah,
system that I needed. Coaches were welcoming. My dad had a little effect, but I knew it was home. There was
yeah,
no doubt about that.
yeah. Knowing what I know, I think it's a really good fit. I really do think that. I been able to watch them enough to know, what they do, how they use their bigs, all those things. So it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you fit in there, and because I think it's going to be spectacular. And as we talked before, the MEC and Wheeling is really one of those rising, programs, kind of rising back to their prominence of years ago. And Chris Richardson's one of the, really better young coaches, that's in that league right now and kind of making his way to the top. But there's a lot of there's some good bigs in that league, some really good bigs in that league that they're big, physical, but you're going to be one of the rare birds that have the size and the ability to step out and stretch the defense. It's going to add a real kind of neat caveat to how the Mountain East plays out this year. So I'm really looking forward to that. See how people kind of defend it, and it's going to kind of it may change the direction of how people approach how they recruit down the road with the Mountain East. So exciting stuff. I hate to be long-winded about it, but I'm just that excited about how you're going to fit in there, and it's turned into such a good program. Let's talk about what do you think your future in basketball is? Let's say the next few years you're at Wheeling, and you're killing it for a couple years. You graduate, all those things. What do you want to do with basketball afterwards? Is it play on a pro level somewhere here in the States? Do you want to go to Europe and play? Or do you just want to graduate and coach? Or is it just something like, hey, I'm going to walk away and be in administration somewhere, or be an executive somewhere, or and leave basketball behind? Where do you see yourself with basketball here in the next 5 to 10 years?
So the goal is to, once I'm done with my college career, however long that may take, uh, go and play overseas. That's something. I enjoy traveling. And if I can travel and do something I love, it makes it 10 times more enjoyable. It makes it worth it, in my opinion. Outside of that, once once the ball stops bouncing, I want to become either a coach or somewhere in the basketball realm to where I'm still involved in the sport. I don't ever want to see myself leaving the sport until I physically cannot contain it.
Gotcha. I think it's a great answer, and I think it's really interesting. I was kind of hoping that you would say that was your goal. I and what a great way to spend your maybe the rest of your 20s is being in Europe or somewhere playing
Right.
professionally,
Exactly.
and a nice way to make a living and start a career. But it is to back up from that in just a second, is playing at the Division 1 level a goal, or is it just something that you kind of wait and say, well, if it happens, it happens?
Yeah, it's more of a if it happens, it happens. I'm not worried about that yet right now. I'm worried about this upcoming year. See, I want to work on myself, work with my team. I haven't even thought about Division 1 level at all. I'll be honest.
Right.
Once I committed to wheeling, right now my focus is wheeling. Uh, I don't see myself even entertaining that option anytime soon. I'll be honest. Even if it does become an option, it's still gonna be hard for me. If it's going to take a lot for me to leave wheeling, but I don't see myself foreseeing leaving anytime soon at all.
Yeah, and I think because that's a question that I'll be honest, that's probably a question you're going to get from a lot of people, and just because of the obvious. Number one,
Yeah, right.
your size, and especially if you have a great year at Wheeling, at some point people are gonna be like, ah, man, he's going to get some interest somewhere, and obviously, if you did, you did leave for something else, you know, certainly nobody's going to blame you. But that is a question I know you're going to get, at some
Yeah.
point.
Uh,
Are you looking to move on to bigger and better things? But we also should not downplay the level that is the MEC
100%.
conference, and the amount of people that have played in that conference that have went on and played overseas and had
Correct.
long careers internationally. It's kind of a factory for those guys that play internationally. It really is. So, um, it's there, and I think a lot of people don't understand it. The top half of there's some overlap with the lower level of Division 1 and that top half of
I agree.
the the
100%.
the conferences like MEC, which is one of the best in the country. So, you can maybe have the status of saying I'm a Division 1 player, but as far as attaining your goal, and I'm sure you understand this. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything as far as having that goal to play internationally. So,
Correct.
well, Quincy, it's been a great great time having you on here. Despite the technical difficulties we had to start over
No worries.
this second session. I can't thank you enough. I know it's a busy time of year trying to get all your basketball workouts and everything in, and make your transition to Wheeling, West Virginia here in a few months. So. Thanks again, and we're the Blue Chips guys here. We're fans for life, and we're going to be rooting you on. And you'll see my face in the crowd up there in Wheeling a couple times this year to come watch you play.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Absolutely. So, best wishes, and as always, if you need something, you let us know. And again, thanks a bunch.
Will do. Thank you.